Today we'll talk a little bit about why I bought a building to begin with, and then why I bought this particular building. As most of you know, I have my own little restoration shop, and I've accumulated a number of cars, and we show cars all over the Northeast, from Indianapolis west to Lime Rock, Connecticut east, Philadelphia, or Lime Rock, Connecticut north, Philadelphia east, and Richmond, Virginia south. And I show these cars to all kinds of people. But I never really had a venue in Altoona to show them to the people of Altoona in the Blair County area. And I was out of space. I was to a point where I really couldn't do any more cars because there was no place to put them. So about 3 years ago, I started looking around. I wanted to stay in Altoona, so I started looking around Altoona, trying to find a building that I thought would do my cars justice and my cars would do the building justice. The original thought was to look for a building with some history. And I looked at several buildings over the years and never really found one that excited me. About 2012, summer of 2012, I saw this building, and originally my thought was, well, it's too big, it's too old. But as I got into it and saw the great architecture of both the outside and especially the interior, it's began to excite me. So through a lot of investigation, I got in touch with the owners, who was Faith Vending Company. The building prior to me buying the building was a kitchen basically for a vending company. The top floors had different things in them throughout the years, computer companies and people in and out through all the other 3 floors. But the first floor was basically the kitchen and the way they filled the vending machines. Well, when I found out that it was originally a car dealership, it was built in 1915 and had a car elevator in it, that even excited me more. So pretty much I decided if I could afford it and if the car elevator worked, I would purchase the building. So in 2013, I took an option, or 2012, I took an option on the building, December of 2012, and I wanted to make sure the elevator worked, and I wanted to do some design work to make sure that I could get everything in it I wanted to. And in August 2013, I bought the building. And so from there, it's been kind of a love affair, and as you look through the building and as you've seen the building, you can see how much I have enjoyed making this building into my Lenny's Classic Car Collection new home. We talked a little bit about why I bought the building. Now let's go inside and see through my eyes what the building looked like when I bought it. Okay, on the inside here, even though it looks today quite different, first off, the front entrance was over on this side of the building, about in the middle. Through our investigation, we found out the original entrance was here. And when we tore up the floor in this area, the existing stairs were still in place. So we replaced the original entrance where it was in 1915. Now from this column back to the front wall was the actual kitchen. They had all the stoves lined up along the wall and large hoods for evacuating all the smoke. And this is where they actually cooked the food to put into the machines. It had a drop ceiling, so you couldn't see any of this beautiful plaster moldings and architecture. The ceiling was probably around 10 feet. And it ran through the whole way to the windows over there. These windows had slatted window shades on them instead of curtains. At this point, there were walls from here to that column because the kitchen actually went the whole way up to the mezzanine to the next column line on that side of the column. But there was entrance doors into the kitchen right here, and there was a partition here. And then from here to the second column up there was actually a 2-story area. Now from between these columns they built the two-story area. It wasn't here before. From that column to that column where you see the mezzanine and my new office is at, was a mezzanine that was built in 1915 with the original building. So when we did the demolition and remodeling, I decided when you come in the front door, I wanted you to be able to see from front to back and see all the cars. We took half of the mezzanine out, and then I put the balcony in. Once I decided to take the mezzanine out, then the balcony was a no-brainer. This wall, where you see me and my lovely wife's picture, this is where the original entrance was. And it ran from column to column. It was a glass aluminum entranceway, and then there was another aluminum entranceway here, and this is how you entered the building. And of course, these were all offices in here, broken up into many different offices. As we move back, you can see the new wine cellar over there. This building had two safes that were built with the building back in 1950. What a car dealership needed with safes, I don't know. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Well, I got a bright idea here in about July of this year to make a wine cellar out of this. Even though it's a very small area, it really turned out, I think, pretty nice. So it's Lenny and Frankie's wine cellar. And we're gonna go in. Here we have the wine cellar. You can see here that there's about a foot difference in the elevation of the floor. At this point back here, you can see the slope continues of the ramp. There was a small ramp in here for cars to be taken into the showroom, because that was from 1915. But right here, there was a double brick wall that ran from floor to ceiling that we had to take out. And in this area here, where you see it's still raised, and of course over here it's down, this was storage area and a small bathroom over in the corner. On this side of the wall, there was a double entrance here. On this side of the wall was where they, Faith Vending, packaged everything and got ready to distribute. Put everything in their packages and got ready to distribute. And it ran from wall to wall. There were basically no partitions in here when I purchased the building. As we move back, if you look at the ceiling, you'll see the beautiful plasterwork. Well, the plasterwork from 1915 actually stopped at this column line back here. So all this was part of the original, from here back out, was part of the original building in 1915. But out here were just concrete beams and purlins. So what I decided to do then, as we got more into the construction, everything was looking so great, rather than transition from the beautiful columns, the beautiful architecture of the original showroom to the area with no plasterwork and basically no architecture, we replaced or made all this column and all the plaster that you see here to match the front of the building. As we move down, this would have been, again, from wall to wall, and basically an open area. Then the elevator, which would have been about, from this point to this point, protruded out from the outside wall there. And of course, this is the car elevator. There was a 10 by 10 overhead door in this area that we took out and put a smaller mahogany door to try to, for the aesthetics and the architecture of the new facade that we were building. But none of these walls were here. As we get back into, this was all open. But what happened over the years, because they had been running large trucks in here, both when it was a dealership and of course when it was Faith Vending, the floors got really cracked up. So from about the telephone booth to the end of the building, we had to tear up all the floors and replace all the floors so we could put the new flooring down. Back in here, which is now the toilet rooms, was just wide open. And all you would have seen would have been the elevator door, and back in the corner you would have seen the stair tower. But this was just wide open area that they had used for probably storing their trucks, I would think. Here we have the corridor with the restrooms, and you don't typically think that you'd want to see a restroom. And maybe you don't. But my goal when I designed these, and when we picked the wall coverings and all the memorabilia that's on the walls, was to make you feel like you walked into the 1940s or 1930s. And I think we did a pretty good job with the slate on the floor and the slate wainscot. If we look at the ladies' room here, I think it turned out pretty elegant. It makes you think like you walked into the 1940s. The men's room isn't quite as elaborate, but it turned out pretty nice also. The men I don't think care, but the women do a little bit. I think everybody walks in kind of likes my toilet paper holder for the men's room here. So I haven't been able to find one for the ladies' room, but sooner or later I'm going to find something unique to put in the ladies' room. And you can see in the men's room here we have a lot of the Bond women. Now I have more to put in here, but as soon as my wife gets them framed, we'll have Bond women all over the wall. You see over here. This wall we built, and of course stone covered it. But on the other side of this wall was not here. And what we did in order to make our detail bay is the reason we put this in. But the original building would have been the whole way to the end of the building. Here's our detail bay. And we wanted the reason we built the wall at the end of the building, didn't make showroom here, is because we wanted to put it on the first floor. Mainly because of the water, but also we're going to do routine maintenance here, like for the cars I drive, change oil, do easy things. And this lift here is from my old shop, and you can see how tall it is, and it doesn't really fit on the second floor. But this turned out pretty nice, and we've already detailed cars. The cars will either go from here onto the truck for a show, or it will go from here into the museum. So, and this door here is the only original one we kept. This was here when I bought the building. There was another large 10 by 10 overhead door right here where they come in. So we had to fill this up and put our rear exit door in this area. So when I took over, there wasn't, other than in the front, there wasn't a whole lot of petitions or demolition to do, except for the two-story area and the mezzanine. Here we come to the pub, and it just happens to be on Aston Martin Boulevard. And the first area we see is our outdoor seating area, where we enjoy drinking and eating. You can see our umbrellas that we only put up when it's sunny. Now we'll go into the pub and show you the rest of the area. Here we are at my authentic English pub. And this has become one of the centers of the whole showroom. And of course, the place where you get the most drinks. The way this transpired and the way this happened was I met some guys out of Philadelphia that owned an antique shop, a very large antique shop. And they had connections with an Irish pub maker in Argentina. And so I worked with a designer, a pub bar designer, and we designed this bar, even down to the stained glass that we were going to put in the ceiling. And as he drew it up, we critiqued it, and once it was drawn up and dimensioned, and the rest of it, we sent it to the Irish pub bar maker in Argentina. And about 6 months later, this is what we got. Actually, more than my expectations. All hand-carved mahogany like the doors that you've seen earlier. And it's just, to me, it's breathtaking. And I hope the people that come in here think the same way. He also made the wood panels on either side of the door and the pub door coming in. That came from Argentina. Well, this brings us to the story behind the pool table. I was originally looking for an antique pool table that I could get restored to put in the pub to match the rest of the building. As I looked, I found one that I really liked, and it was one called the Jewel. It was made in 1880 by Brunswick and became a very famous pool table. In fact, today, there is one in the White House. As I looked around, first off, I couldn't find any that needed restored or any that were being sold. And when I did find one that needed restored, it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I decided I better do something different. I then found a company up in Portland, Oregon that made one of the top makers of custom pool tables in the country. And I commissioned them to make a replica of the Jewel. So what you see here is a replica of the Jewel from the 1880s. Outside, we're going to go look at two murals that we put in to make it look a little bit more like an English countryside or European village. And how I got the idea is there was nothing in here. This was completely empty, no floors. Outside, there was no cars, but the walls were painted. And when I walked to this spot, I looked out through, and they just put the two windows in, put all these windows in. I looked out the two windows, and it's amazing. You can see both of those where now the murals are, both walls, and they were blank.